We have played in plenty of Pokemon Draft Leagues since starting up this channel earlier this year, and have gotten much better at playing this game through my experiences. However, this might be my biggest challenge yet, as I joined the NBBL for their 5th season, a tier-based draft league with a bit of a twist. Many of the Pokemon typically banned from standard formats have been legalized, with threats such as Chien-Pao, Spectre, and Zamazenta being allowed, and even monsters like Dialga, Fluttermane, Kyurem Black, and Solgaleo being available. As someone whose main experience has come from standard formats and not much experience with these high tier legendaries at all, this will definitely be a tough challenge. And if you haven't already, or this is the first time you're watching this channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We do a lot of Pokemon content on this channel, especially competitive draft leagues. It'd mean a lot and it really helps me out. The NBBL is a tier-based draft, and if you aren't familiar with how that works, here's a quick rundown on how we did this draft. Every Pokemon available was separated into 5 respective tiers, with the strongest of them all being in tier 1, such as Dragapult, Chien-Pao, and Dialga, while the weakest being down in tier 5. Think of your Golducks and most not fully evolved Pokemon. We are given a certain amount of Pokemon we can choose for each tier, 1 from tier 1, 2 from tiers 2 and 3, 3 from both tiers 4 and 5. The rest of the rules are pretty standard. Terra Captains can have 3 types each one of each of those types, having to be the same type, and the other 2 being whatever we want. So we can choose a Terra Captain from tiers 3, 4, and 5, 1 Stab, 2 random of any other type. When approaching this draft, I already knew what Pokemon I wanted to draft. The main philosophy for the league was that our highest tier pick will be the main focus every week. If we were to draft something like, Kyurem Black, we should prioritize a check to the defensive steals that can comfortably switch into it. With so many high tier monsters, another good idea would be to draft a very capable defensive backbone. Super high physically and especially defensive Pokemon hold a lot of value to help check the myriad of offensive threats without spreading our defense too thin with attempting to check multiple big threats. Out of a draft of 28 lovely people, our selection can feel thin. We started at 10th, and with all things considered, that's a pretty cozy spot to be in. This posed an interesting decision for me. Do I choose from one of the remaining tier 1 legendaries right away, or do I immediately go for a strong Terra Captain? I was very nervous that my main pick that I wanted all along wouldn't make it back to me, so I settled for my tier 1 pick being Shaymin-Sky. This was easily my top tier choice from before the draft even started. After my experience with Shaymin in the PCPL, I know I wanted to redeem it in some way, and what better way is there than having the little duckling grow up and turn into the beautiful swan it was always meant to be. With an incredibly impressive base 120 special attack and a base 127 speed stat, as well as with its ability Serene Grace, Shaymin changes from one scary strong Chia pet into a terrifying little fairy. Its signature move Seed Flare, getting an 80% chance to drop the special defense stat of any Pokemon hit by it, and Air Slash getting a 60% chance to flinch every time, alongside its annoying status moves and Leech Seed and Substitute. It's a very frustrating mon for my opponents, an annoyance in prep, and I expect great things from it this season. As we got into tier 2, I wanted to consider Shaymin's weaknesses. It can struggle with steel types, and a great way to check Skyman is to get a mon with a choice scarf for an attempt to outspeed it. It's also relatively frail, and so my first priority was a Pokemon that can help out with our defense, offense, and utility all in one. Tyranitar fits the role. Tyranitar and Skyman together form a nice synergy. Tyranitar is able to threaten the many faster ghost types the Skyman would rather not take a hit from, and break down many of the common specially defensive mons that would attempt to check Skyman, such as Blissey, Lugia, and most of the fire and ice types that offensively try to deal with as well. In return, Skyman helps with T-Tar answers. Many of the ground, water, and fighting types that attempt to deal with it, Skyman can switch in on and threaten out immediately after. T-Tar also provides the team with decent speed control, stealth rocks, and a special wall. A sweeping set can also be viable with Dragon Dance, and it brings another pain in team building for my opponents in Sandstorm. Tyranitar's Sandstream ability would be a little silly for me to not pick up a Pokemon that can really use that heavily in its advantage. And getting some sort of hazard removal would also be reckless, with Skyman being part flying type and having that weakness to Stealth Rocks. So my next pick was Excadrill, an incredible sweeper, hazard removal option, secondary Stealth Rock setter, and a check to many of the steel types my team currently still struggles with. Its ground and steel typing is almost perfect to help out with my team, providing a steal steel, and fairy resist that it can threaten immediately after with super effective stab damage. With 3 incredible abilities, Excadrill can perform its roles in many unique ways. Sandrush turns it into an incredibly quick little devil and attempts to check the various Choice Scarf Pokemon that might threaten Skyman. Sandforce increases our damage higher than imaginable, and Mold Breaker being able to reliably get hazards up on any team, including those with Espeon or Hatterene with Magic Bounce. It might be a rather predictable Pokemon, but that makes it no less excellent in what it does, with incredible offensive pressure and an important defensive typing. Now we're getting into Tier 3, where my first Terra Captain will be, and also where a decent defensive profile should be established. Gothitelle was a mon I originally had my eye on with Terra Fire. It can switch in defensively, take attacks from opposing Fire, Steel, and Ice types that try to deal with Skyman, and can trap and eliminate them at the same time. However, it was picked up by someone much earlier in the draft, so it was no longer an option for me. I had to find a reasonable alternative. With Skyman and Excadrill, both inviting in opposing Choice Scarfs and Priority, an incredibly potent Priority user of my own sounded like a perfect plan, and a Fire type was still a type I was looking for. Thus, Terra Entei was the Pokemon I picked up next. Entei adds that extra resist to the Steel and Ice types that pressure Skyman, and the Grass types that pressure T-Tar and Excadrill, and still checks them offensively with incredible stabs Sacred Fire. With Terra Normal, our extreme speeds will hit incredibly hard and out-prioritize most other attacks such as Ice Shards that might get thrown our way. Its Fire typing helps us out with the remaining Steel types that still give us trouble, such as Corviknight, Orthworm, and Bronzong that Excadrill can't really deal on its own. And Terra Fairy, my third Terra type on Entei, provides us with an emergency check to Dragon and Fighting types that might still be able to give us issues, and gives us also a powerful offensive option into them as well. With the Choice Band, Sacred Fire will not be an easy attack to switch into, and extreme speed becomes an incredibly consistent and effective team cleaning tool. Its offensive utility is also appreciated with Will-O-Wisp and Trailblaze, both enabling Entei to weaken opposing Pokemon to make it easier to sweep with the rest of my team. Now, while my team isn't shy of fire resistances, another one definitely wouldn't hurt the team, and a water type is incredible to complete the standard fire, water, and grass core. For Ralligator gives us an incredibly potent sweeper with powerful priority in Aqua Jet and serves as an amazing pivot with Flip Turn. The water typing helps us offensively threaten ground types that Shaymin might not be able to reliably deal with, such as Donphan or Mamoswine, which have the priority move Ice Shard. Its respectable bulk also allows us to comfortably take 1 or 2 attacks and fire off incredibly powerful revenge attacks with its ability Sheer Force, boosting its damage to sky-high levels. With the setup moves in Dragon Dance, Swords Dance, and even Agility or Scale Shot, Feraligator's ability to sweep is very impressive. Its good coverage means that it's able to consistently put pressure on opposing teams, and it, as well as the rest of my team in their physically attaching nature, force physically defensive investment to take away prep from Skyman. In Tier 4, my main goal is to get really effective defensive Pokemon that can take a hit and attack back, are much appreciated, as well as, always having utility. With most of my team being physically offensive, I would also love another Pokemon to take advantage of the less bulky teams I'll end up facing from the specially defensive side, and while my current team does have decently respectable bulk, it's nothing absolutely stellar. Another ground immunity that does not share a weakness with Skyman would also be much appreciated, so my next pick was Uxie, an absolutely incredible defensive mon with phenomenal utility as well. T-Wave provides speed control, another rocker that resists the ground and fighting type attacks that threaten T-Tar and Excadrill is also great to have. Uxie's move pool is so vast that there is no other word to describe it than exceptional. Yawn, Sandstorm, Encore, Knockoff, Trick, U-Turn, and Memento just name a few of the amazing moves at Uxie's disposal. With both Calm Mind and Nasty Plot, Uxie can also become a respectable sweeper. Its powerful Stab Future Sight can help out the rest of my team with breaking through teams, and its signature attack Mystical Power, giving a guaranteed special attack boost while attacking, is really good, especially with the coverage attacks in Uxie's toolkit. A great defensive mon with great moves, very good speed tier means Uxie will be an annoying and disruptive mon this season for sure. My second Terra Captain is up next. Entei is a great attacker with decent utility, respectable bulk, and a very good wall breaking ability with a good speed tier. My next Captain, Magnezone, is both similar and different. It has an exceptionally high offensive stat, very good bulk, and again decent utility. Its ability to pivot immediately sets it apart from Entei, and the Terra types that I've given it have been in an attempt to check various types defensively. With Terra's Steel, Water, and Fighting, we get an extra Steel type to approach more defensively for matchups that Excadrill wants to be very offensive in. It also turns Flash Cannon and Steel Beam into nukes with on-spec sets for when that's what I need. Terra Water reverses the matchup in Magnezone's favor against types such as Ground and Fire, gives me a resistance to water which my team definitely appreciates. Terra Fighting gives Magnezone an incredible niche of trapping steel types more effectively, just like Gothitelle did in my original plan. With Terra Blast Fighting or Body Press, many steel types fail to take a hit while also being unable to OHKO Magnezone beforehand. Putting a lot of pressure in the team builder forces the decision between being able to swap out from Magnezone with a Shed Shell, or if they need Covert Cloak for Skyman. Magnezone's offensive ability is also incredible. With the ability Sturdy, it can always tank a hit and dish out a powerful attack in matchups where its natural bulk might just not be good enough, and it also has the ability Analytic for boosting damage when Magnezone goes second, which it often does. The next mon, I knew exactly what I wanted. A natural Ghost type provides me a rapid spin immunity, and a natural Fairy helps Entei more comfortably decide between its Terra types. As it stands now, there are only 2 Pokemon that match that description with their natural typings, and Fluttermane isn't an option. So Mimikyu is the next Pokemon on our team. As far as Pokemon with this description goes, Mimikyu is almost perfect. The main draw of it is its phenomenal ability Disguise, letting it work as an imposing stopgap capable of countering any foe it chooses. Its attack stat, though mediocre, is backed behind a near unresisted stab combination, and with its ability it gets basically a free Swords Dance every game. An exceptional utility kit again with the Shadow Sneak priority means it can be a great check to out of control ghosts and psychic types, and even against the Pokemon it can't directly check on its own, with the assistance of the red card item, it can still force out heavily boosted threats of any kind. This is a Pokemon I'm super excited to use, real powerhouse in multiple ways, and come on, it's also cute. And finally, we're in the 5th and final tier for this draft. For me, there isn't an insane amount of value to be had from this tier, but despite that, I think I picked up some real keepers. Excadrill is good, but even in Sandstorm, it can be slower than a lot of top tier threats with such as Iron Bundle or Chien-Pao with a Choice Scarf. So my next Pokemon and final Terra Captain, we got Lycanroc Midday, an exceptional sweeper, fast and powerful naturally, but pushed to another level with Sandstorm and Terra. With the types Rock, Fighting, and Ice, its main focus is definitely to be a sweeper and wall breaker. It does have its niche as a decent lead Pokemon with attacks such as Endeavor, Taunt, and Stealth Rocks, but its offensive ability is so incredible it's sometimes hard to pass up on. With Swords Dance, its attacks will hit insanely hard, and its checks are more thin when Terra Ice can damage the bulky grounds to typically try to check it. Terra Rock, Stone Edge, and Terra Fight in close combat are incredibly strong attacks that not many Pokemon can just switch into or take easily at +2. Its coverage is respectable as well. The fighting types that can take a rock attack won't as easily be able to take a Play Rough. With Sandrush, the only Pokemon capable of outspeeding it are other faster, Unburden, or Weather users, and the incredibly unnecessary Choice Scarf, Deoxys Speeds, and Regielekis, and neither want to tank a +2 priority Accelerock either. Next, we'll talk about both of my last 2 picks for the draft. They do hold their value, but they aren't star players by any stretch of the imagination. Hisuian Avalugg and Swallow play pretty similar roles on this team. One has a Rapid Spin and the other's a Grounded Poison. Hazards such as Spikes and Toxic Spikes are incredibly annoying for teams. It's always smart to have some kind of extra removal on your teams, and a Grounded Poison is particularly important. The 2 Pokemon I have here fill those roles well enough. Hisuian Avalugg has a really strong offensive stab combination in Ice and Rock. Sturdy is a great ability that guarantees I can at least get one attempt at clicking Rapid Spin, and its physical bulk is absolutely monstrous. Swalot's bulk is good too. Its natural poison type means it can swap onto Toxic Spikes and remove them from the field without needing Rapid Spin. Its ability to status and remove items is also pretty nice, so it can do more than just come onto the field once or twice. And as with most low tier Pokemon, I wouldn't expect either of these 2 Pokemon to be brought very often. That is our full team for the NBBL. Our schedule this season features a bunch of new players we haven't played before on this channel, and I hope you show everyone here a lot of support because they definitely deserve all you can give, and I'd love to spread the love. So what do you think of the team for our season of the NBBL? What Pokemon would you have drafted differently if you were playing in this league? Let me know in the comments. If you made it this far, make sure you subscribe below for more Pokemon Draft League content. I'll see you next week for our Week 1 battle against Goki. See you guys there. Bye bye.